Hey, does no one remember when Cash and Pam testified before the House Judiciary Committee in September following their July joint memo closing out the Epstein investigation? Something happened at the close of those hearings. A vote was taken, and it's proof of my theory that this was a call out for help, very specifically JP Morgan Chase and all of the people who transacted business with one Jeffrey Epstein. The active investigation blocking the release of the files is buying time. Back on July 7th, the FBI and the DOJ issued this unsigned joint memorandum saying nothing to see here, you stupid idiots. We've pored over every document, we've pored over every video, we've followed every credible source, and there is nothing to see here. There is no proof that Jeffrey Epstein worked with anyone else, that he leveraged any of this stuff for power, for blackmail. There's no evidence that anyone else even saw or was involved in any of the materials that they were forced to watch. And all of the materials were just Jeffrey Epstein and his thousands of victims. We did not uncover evidence that could predicate an investigation against uncharged third parties, including banks, including the people that were doing business with those banks. How do I know? Well, Richard Durbin sent a letter to Pam Bondi after that memo was sent out on July 7th, and he said a lot of things, basically saying like, hey, how come you lie a bunch? One of the things he said was, why is the July 7th memorandum making the two official findings regarding Jeffrey Epstein unsigned by any DOJ or FBI officials? He knows why, because they don't want to get caught perjuring themselves. They don't want to take credit for anything that's in that memorandum. Anyway, in September, when the two of them gave testimony, he had an opportunity to ask her that same question. You want to know what she said?
Until July, when DOJ and FBI released an unsigned memo stating, quote, there's no incriminating client list. Why was the July 7th memo unsigned?
The July 7th memo came from the FBI and the Department of Justice. Director Patel answered those questions very clear. And, you know, Senator Durbin, I find it very interesting that you refused repeated Republican requests to release the Epstein.
The usual deflection. Cash Patel already answered the question. No, he didn't. By the way, how come you... Bullshit. Anyway, at the end of those hearings in September, literally, like at the end of Cash Patel's testimony. So he testified September 17th, September 18th. At the end of the day on September 18th, the House Judiciary Committee voted to block a Democratic motion to subpoena 4 banks for records related to the late Jeffrey Epstein. In a 2019 vote, the GOP-controlled panel decided to table a subpoena request made by Jamie Raskin. Raskin asked the GOP-controlled committee to subpoena the CEOs of JP Morgan, the Bank of New York, Bank of America, and Deutsche Bank to turn over the suspicious transaction reports the banks have flagged for Epstein's accounts. These banks have internal algorithms that tip them off when there's abnormal activity that would indicate criminal activity, specific criminal activity. And because those internal algorithms signaled criminal activity and specifically trafficking activity, JP Morgan voluntarily settled with victims to the tune of millions of dollars because they knew and they continued to allow him to transact business. Do you get it? These 4 banks have flagged to the government $1.5 billion. Do you know how much money $1.5 billion? $1.5 billion in suspicious transactions related specifically to the sex trafficking crimes and conspiracy of Epstein, Ghislaine, and all of their collaborators. You know who all of their collaborators are? Anyone that was sending money to these accounts or was getting money from these accounts. Those are the people that your boy was calling out to for help in that Truth Social post, saying that they're going to launch an investigation to JP Morgan. In a separate 23-16 vote, the panel also decided to table its consideration of a separate subpoena request proposed by another Dem, and that subpoena would have been for Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent $40 billion to Argentina, Scott Bessent, to produce all suspicious activity reports in the possession of his department that identify the more than $1 billion in suspicious transactions from Epstein's various bank accounts. If you're keeping track, that is the Reds blocking the Blues' efforts to continue looking into this, specifically looking into the banks, the transactions, to find co-conspirators. They said, "You heard Kash Patel? There's nothing to see here. You read his memo? There's nothing to see here. It was one sick individual. Nothing to see here." This was the Reds protecting those individuals doing business, exchanging money, transacting money with and between themselves and Jeffrey Epstein. Specific activity has been flagged by those banks that indicate to them co-conspirator activity. They blocked it to protect those people. They blocked it to protect those people. So after they've closed it out and after they've answered to closing it out, this comes up again. Hey guys, I protected you. I've been protecting you. They're about to release this shit. It's time for you guys to call in your favors. It's time for you guys, whoever was transacting through JP Morgan with Epstein, it's time for you guys to apply your pressure to all of the politicians that you own. Make them change their votes. Make them change their votes. I helped you out before. You help me out now. That's what the fuck this is. The open investigation stalling the immediate release is just buying time. Like I said, it is exhausting being right all the time. Thank you, goodbye. Oh wait, one more thing. When are the articles of impeachment coming? Pam Bondi and Kash Patel are eligible for impeachment. They lied to the American public, undermining the trust of the American public, undermining the trust in their offices, making very clear the weaponization of their offices. This is per se corruption. By lying to the American public, by closing out the investigation saying there's nothing to see here and then opening it up 2 months later saying, oh wait, actually let's look at something else. After an exhaustive investigation, words mean things. They are making very clear that they are not independent and that they are serving at the will and whim of a boss. Which, by the way, was also evident when certain questions were being asked of Pam Bondi about like, are you going to do this? Are you going to investigate this? And she would say things like, you're a lawyer. I can't answer that. Insinuating that Donald Trump is her client. Saying that she's got attorney-client privilege with Donald Trump. These are high crimes and misdemeanors for which articles of impeachment are appropriate. And if the House can get it together before those people targeted by that JP Morgan post apply pressure and another vote is taken and they withdraw their votes, those people can join in on a vote to pass articles of impeachment. They would have the votes if those people don't flip. I know, we're counting on integrity where there is none. But anyway, articles of impeachment. Also, I was right.